What does your favorite Hitman map ultimately say about you? Part 2. Now, believe it or not, some people out there really do think that picking the Isle of Sgail as their favorite map will make them look like a distinguished gentleman. But in fact, it makes you look like a blithering simpleton. It's like picking McDonald's as your favorite all-time restaurant. It is just unsophisticated. And there's no better word to describe the Isle of Sgail. It is by far the most confusing, convoluted layout you could ever pick for a location. If you don't believe me, load the map starting from the chapel and try and see how long it takes you to make your way into the kitchen area. Just count how many times you'll get lost on the way and have to open up the map, which of course will be of almost no help to you, since the map is so bewildering in its layout. Being lost on it is basically a permanent part of your existence. If you main this map, it has to be for aesthetic purposes, but even those aren't anything to write home about. For a map set around the Illuminati, it's anything but imaginative. No UFOs, no taxidermied Bigfoot, no caveman in ice, no zombie presidents, or pictures of lizard people, despite its gothic design, which is rather cool. When it comes to substance, much like Gal Gadot's acting,
I need you to give me the stone.
it leaves a lot to be desired. I think it's fair to say that this map is nowhere near the top of most people's tier lists, and for good reason. However, don't feel bad about choosing it, because let's face it, it could be worse. A lot worse. You could be a Haven Island player. You didn't see anything, right? The bank. Well, you know the famous quote, it's not the size, it's what you do with it. Of course, that phrase isn't only used by guys with small dicks, but also IO Interactive while they were putting this map together. And for what it's worth, IO did a lot here. For such a small map to have 3 completely different pathways, all with their own distinctive routes, is nothing short of spectacular. To build a map that's completely interior based and give it so much freedom of approach is something we've never seen before or since, which goes to prove just how unique and in a way strange this particular location is. The fact that it's a DLC map, in combination with its smaller scale, will probably cause most players to think that people won't put it down as their personal favorite. However, much like a Republican politician getting caught in a gay sex club, it happens more often than you'd think. I mean, of course, if they were a liberal, no one would even notice, but that's beside the point. The sheer size alone doesn't seem to turn most people away, because it's clear just how much work IO has put into the map to make sure that every square inch is as packed with content as humanly possible. Every NPC has their own unique story. Everywhere you go, there's a mission story ready to uncover itself to you and guide you towards a unique objective. I strongly feel the vast majority of people who main this map are the sort of guys who are more oriented towards single-player experiences, the type who come from Red Dead Redemption 2 or Cyberpunk 2077, and love having an open world filled with secrets, Easter eggs, and unique missions. And since you hang out in an interior all day, being in an interior map just comes natural to you. You know, personally, I don't see anything wrong with maining the map. You walk in here, you take what you want, and you shoot any poor bastard that gets in the way. It's a perfect freaking map. And so what if you're a little anti-social for maining it? That doesn't have to be a bad thing, right? It's not like it's directly linked to being violent and psychotic. You know what? Originally, I was never even supposed to do this map. I was gonna make the big joke of just showing the background with no one talking and nothing, and then just swerve to the next one, because let's face it, nobody mains this shit. Or at least that's what I thought. But as it turned out in the comments, I wasn't exactly correct. So I told myself, well fuck it, we're gonna length the video anyways, might as well nail it out of the park. So here we are, Haven Island. Visually, there's no arguing, Haven Island is one of the prettiest maps of the series, and the layout is rather simple and easy to learn. However, gameplay-wise, there's issues here as far as the eyes can see. Literally, on most maps the field of view of guards and civilians only reaches to a certain distance, so the player is able to comfortably see them and not get spotted from ridiculous distances. However, since Haven Island is overwhelmingly an open area, where most of the time you are in an outdoor environment, NPC's sight has been boosted to an extraordinary degree, to the point where NPCs can spot bodies and illegal actions from ridiculous distances away. Most times, you won't even know where you're being caught from or how you lost your silent assassin. However, there's an even bigger problem. Since this map is one of the 2 DLC maps, IO had their A team working on the bank and their B team on Haven Island, clearly showcased by the fact that freedom of approach is almost non-existent. Every time you think you found some opening or an infiltration point, you end up at a dead end, either completely blocked by structures or an overwhelming amount of NPCs who are impossible to get around suit only. And I know suit only isn't the only way the game is meant to be played, but that doesn't mean you should make it almost impossible to play that way if you wanted to, by blocking every single infiltration point or filling it with NPCs in places that are almost impossible to overcome. Whoever is responsible for this map's design, and especially that mention area, was clearly a complete amateur who had no idea what freedom of approach even is. Not to mention that for the longest time it had see-through walls, so you'd get spotted even when you were supposed to be hidden. The entire map is just inadequate. It lacks fast luring opportunities, accidents, and it was clearly rushed in development given just how glitchy it tends to run. Picking Haven Island as your favorite Hitman map is like picking Maserati as your favorite car brand. It automatically lets me know that you know jack shit about the subject we're talking about, and you've only made those choices based on physical appearances. Because let's face it, there's no other reason as to why you would. There's just nothing there. And it's very, very difficult for me to be a good friend and not roast the living crap out of you for the bad choice that you have made. However, I do try to be polite. So, as you and I are sitting on the side of the road and you are admiring its beauty, I may just throw a couple of hints your way, like, you do know the second you hit a speed bump that exhaust is gonna fall off, right? And also, that smoke from under the hood, that's not cooling, my guy, that's the engine valves disintegrating in front of our very eyes. You may want to do something about that. But what can you say, some people, they just can't be helped. And when it comes to Haven Island mains, you might as well just double that statement. Dubai. Gameplay-wise, this map is basically a gold-plated version of Paris. The same exact tower-like layout where the difficulty and restrictions of the map increase as you make your way up the level. And to make it even funnier, Dubai is the beginning level of Hitman 3, just like Paris is for Hitman 2016. I think the main reason people tend to main this map is because it's the first one they played in Hitman 3 and the one they became most familiar with. It's natural to pick something you're comfortable with and deeply enjoy as your favorite, so it's no surprise to me this map is picked quite often. When it comes to gameplay or looks, it's no better or worse than the rest of the Hitman 3 pack. They're all great maps with unique visuals and layouts. If you're an old school player and you still choose Dubai as your favorite, despite it not being your first, maybe you're just the type of person who really enjoys its arcade style design, very reminiscent of some of the older fighting games out there. Or maybe you're just one of those guys who can't get enough attention, the same one who revs his car on every single red light and plays his radio way too damn loud for everybody to hear. If you're the show-off who just can't get enough spotlights on himself, there ain't no better place for you to visit than the Golden Scepter, surrounded by talentless egomaniacs and Eastern European sluts. I have a feeling you'll be right at home. Dartmoor. And talk about maps that resemble Paris, here we have Dartmoor. Now, this map is rather interesting because yes, the giant tower in the middle, surrounded by open areas on the side, is very obviously influenced by Paris. However, the other massive influence that most haven't thought about is actually Colorado. I mean, think about it, the entire map is suspicious or hostile when you're roaming in shoot only, no matter where you are once you've crossed the fence. Perhaps the reason you choose this map as your favorite is because you're an introvert who is used to hiding from people and refraining from being seen in public. Or maybe you just love the extremely unique detective elements this map introduces, which are completely one of a kind for any Hitman game before or since. I personally find it kind of funny that the one British map on the calendar is also the one that has us cosplaying as Sherlock Holmes. Either way, it's a good pick to have as a favorite, as it's usually a low-risk map, which provides plenty of entertainment, which is something really nice, because if you are a Dartmoor main, you probably don't like leaving the house too often. There's no doubt that a manor is a very cool location for a Hitman map, and the Sherlock Holmes detective elements are very well done, so I can understand why people may choose it for that. However, at the same time, let's face reality, Dartmoor is one of the easier maps of the series. On the main story, you have only one target, so it's very straightforward. And when it comes to Freelancer, the ease of access and simple traversal makes it a dream map for beginners. So, if you're one of those people who seem to really struggle spelling words, such as cat or dog, finds themselves choking on their own saliva, and buys a new iPhone every year, I think Dartmoor should be right down your alley. Berlin. Now, there's only one of two reasons why you would pick this map as your personal favorite. You're either a skilled player who loves pushing the game's boundaries to the very limit, or you just can't get enough of that dance floor. Still, for those of you not coming here from Dance Revolution, it's very understandable why you would choose Berlin. On my Hitman 3 poll, it completely wiped out the competition, standing alone as the most popular of the newer maps. The many targets you have available make the level almost infinitely replayable, and even if you were to take it into Freelancer or featured contracts, Berlin's build quality as the master of freedom of approach is pretty much one of a kind. Does that make you a bit of a tryhard for choosing it? Well, not really. Berlin is advertised as Apex Predator, so of course you're going to play it in a competitive nature. I mean, that's what the map is designed for. It was literally created to allow players the chance to push their skills to the highest degree. So why wouldn't you? What's the point of playing Berlin if you're not going to be pushing the limits and sweating like a pedophile in a Barney suit? I mean, you wouldn't buy a giant 4x4 all-wheel drive pickup truck and then never take it off-road, right? Just strutting it around as a daily driver in the city streets to try and compensate for your extremely minor, almost insignificant pecker. Well, maybe that wasn't the best simile, but you get the point. If you've chosen Berlin as your all-time favorite map, then that can only mean one thing. You have made a choice that is too popular to put you in one definitive category. However, at the same time, it's very likely that if you were to look up the definition of a tryhard in the dictionary, you would find a picture of yourself proudly holding your controller in one hand with a bottle of lotion in the other. Chongqing. Well, if Wilton Creek was created to pay homage to Hitman Blood Money, then there's no doubt Chongqing was created as an homage to Hitman Absolution. The dark atmosphere mixed with rain and bright neons is basically a carbon copy of some of Hitman Absolution's earliest and arguably most iconic levels. A mix of the Vixen Club and the King of Chinatown. And when it comes to gameplay, the map is genuinely good. You have unrivaled traversal, with the map fully explorable through the rooftops, the streets, and the underground area. That's what makes it one of my favorite maps. Freedom of approach is unbelievable, and it shines especially well when it comes to Freelancer and contracts, where I genuinely feel that I can do a 100% silent assassin shoot only every time I play, because the map is so good, I know I can get away with it. However, it's very clear looking at the pose that, much like Jaguar's reboot, that message doesn't really seem to come across. And I think there's a genuine shame in that, because you have a really great map here that people seem to completely overlook. If you choose this as a favorite, that can only mean one thing. You've got one heck of a gaming machine, as the mix of rain, neons and puddles with reflection tends to break most PCs like a Home Alone villain. Of course, it's possible that you're a console player, in which case most of these laggy issues should not really be affecting you. However, at the same time, you're not gonna have access to the time of day mode, you're not gonna have access to custom outfits or freelancer variations, and a ton of other cool modes. So ultimately, you are missing out in the end. However, don't feel too bad about it, because, as they say, it could be worse. You could be a Google Stadia player. Mendoza. Now here's a location that really seems to inspire people. Mendoza is Hitman World of Assassination's second homage to Hitman Blood Money. This time, taking the shape of Blood Money's first proper mission, a vintage year. Thankfully, unlike Whittleton Creek, Blood Money's first homage, this one wasn't just randomly slapped together in just 2 weeks, but was actually given the time it needed to be developed as a proper, large release. This map is no slouch when it comes to popularity either, as it sits in second place right behind Berlin. However, when it comes to people picking it as a personal favorite, there's only a few reasons as to why. First of all, this is technically Hitman's final proper map. It's the end of the series in a way, and because of that, the atmosphere is completely different. It does feel like that final mission, the big farewell in the end, especially as the map is filled with NPCs from our previous encounters who speak about the events that have taken place in previous missions. Because of that, Mendoza carries one of the heaviest atmospheres of the entire trilogy. There's no doubt most people chose this mission specifically for that reason. Of course, there's also a few sadistic sons of bitches who pick it because you can crush people with grape crushers and grape smashers. And because of that, Mendoza tends to attract two types of players. You have your sophisticated players who enjoy its deeply immersive atmosphere, and then also you have a bunch of complete and utter total degenerates who just want to try and recreate Mortal Kombat fatalities. There's medication for what you have. You could also try getting late. Tends to help. Ambrose Island. You know how for Miami and Berlin, you can't place their player base in a certain category because the maps are just too popular and many people pick them for entirely different reasons? Well, Ambrose Island is the exact opposite of that case. This map is almost as unpopular as it gets, especially in comparison to the rest of the Hitman 3 maps. Trying to find an Ambrose Island main in the Hitman forums is like trying to find a brain cell in the head of a Kardashian. Can there be one of them deeply buried somewhere? Possibly, but good luck finding it. And there's an entirely good reason for it. When you look at the gameplay, yeah, it's really good, just like the rest of the Hitman 3 maps. Freedom of approach is executed to damn near perfection, but that doesn't really make it stand out, since it's just another really good gameplay map in a sea of awesomeness. When it comes to atmosphere, it's good, but once again, nothing special. And when it comes to looks, it's really nothing to write home about. It's just not a standout map. It doesn't excel at anything when compared to the rest of the maps. It's mostly a map that falls somewhere between the middle to the upper section of most people's tier lists. It's just a bit forgettable as a package, unless it's specifically your thing. Maybe you're a big Pirates of the Caribbean's fan, or you like the evil pirate babes roaming around. Whatever your reason may be, it's something very specific that appeals to you. You have a certain fetish, let's just say, about an element of this map. I mean, don't get this the wrong way. Am I automatically saying that you're some kind of a dirty pervert just because you enjoy this map? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. And with that bombshell, I believe I've been able to offend the entire Hitman player base, which I'm technically a part of. And given that I've mained all these maps, have I secretly just been roasting myself the entire time? That's a good question to ask, but it's a question for another day. Until next time, this has been WildGold, and thank you oh so very much for watching.